We just had the best day ever in Magic Kingdom, but we don't want to just tell you about it. We want to take you along with us. Have your bags packed and ready? Great, let's go. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. All right, today we are doing something completely different. Are you excited? You should be, because we're taking you on a ferry boat over to Magic Kingdom, crowds and all, so you can join us for a perfect day inside the original Disney World park. Now, before we walk through those park gates, I want to remind you that our day at Magic Kingdom actually starts before this moment. In reality, we were up on this day by 6:55 a.m., ready to snag a spot in the virtual queue for Tron Light Cycle Run. And we were grabbing our first lightning lane of the day for Jungle Cruise. Both virtual queues and lightning lanes go live at 7 a.m., but we prioritize the virtual queue since it tends to book up real fast. You ready? Because we're scanning in, y'all. Just pretend the scanner made the little magical ding ding noise right there, okay? Now remember what finger you used to scan in with, because that will be the same finger you'll have to use to scan in for all your other parks too. Magic Kingdom's hours today are listed for 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. with early entry for all Disney hotel guests between 8:30 and 9 a.m. Park hours are subject to change though, so when you visit in the future, make sure to check the My Disney Experience app for those updated times. Now, fortunately, our Jungle Cruise Lightning Lane return time isn't until 11:30 a.m., which works out perfectly since we have breakfast reservations at 9:30. But I'll get to those in just a second. For now, let's appreciate the grand reveal of Main Street USA. The moderate crowds that you see ahead of us this morning are typical for a Magic Kingdom day, especially when they're all kind of bottlenecked around the entrance right there at Rope Drop. But those morning crowds do break up once you're past the icon of the park herself, Cinderella Castle, because all those people just kind of go to all the different lands and not everybody is all bottlenecked into Main Street anymore. Yep, there she is, all her blue-capped pastel pink glory. If you only knew how many castle pics were hanging out in my camera roll right now, you would probably be shocked. Now you're gonna see lots of folks gathering around for photo pass shots in front of the castle, but what we're gonna do is actually take a left and go around the back side of the castle so we can make it over to our breakfast dining reservation at... wait for it. We are going to Cinderella's Royal Table. We actually got reservations for the most popular signature restaurant in all of Disney World. Even though our reservation isn't until 9:30 a.m., I recommend grabbing reservations for this experience as early on in the day as you can, if you can. Cinderella's Royal Table actually opens at 8 a.m., even before early theme park entry guests are allowed in, which gives you the chance to walk down an empty Main Street USA and snap pictures of the castle minus all the extra people. But beggars can't be choosers, so let's check into our reservation. We're at the restaurant 15 minutes early just to be on the safe side because we definitely don't want to be late and wind up forfeiting our table here. Typically, the Disney World restaurants give you a 15 to 20 minute grace period if you're running behind for a reservation, but if you go past that, they'll consider you a no-show and give your table to someone else. That's a real big deal if you're a no-show for Cinderella's Royal Table, since you'll have to forfeit the price of your whole meal without the chance to experience it. So yeah, we wanted to get here early. The DFB team has dined here before, and despite that high price tag, this is one we recommend for anyone who wants to be dropped right into the Disney magic. And it all starts just as soon as you walk through that castle door. This is one of those things that I think really sets Disney apart from a lot of other theme parks, is other theme parks are gonna theme the front of someplace or the side of someplace, but very few of them are gonna let you go inside and actually be in a castle, and a well-themed castle at that. This is just jaw-dropping. The Imagineering here makes you feel like you've just stepped into a medieval time capsule, and you know how I feel about medieval everything, right? I love it. So there's shiny suits of armor, there's dark wood accents, stone walls and floor, plush velvet decor, artistic tapestry, stained glass windows, Gothic style chandeliers. Now I know a lot of this stuff is fiberglass, but it sure looks real. And of course that expansive main dining area that puts you in the center of it all. Before the start of our meal, we can take a picture with the main lady herself, Princess Cinderella, but we're gonna wait on that till a bit later. After taking a quick look around the castle interior, we're gonna follow a cast member over to our table. The tables near the dining room windows are prime real estate here, folks, since they overlook the Magic Kingdom, but we're still more than happy with the table that we got. We're just happy to be here at all. And it doesn't take long for us to see our second princess of the day, Princess Aurora. We don't get to chat with her for too terribly long, but she's still a delight to get an autograph from. Every Cinderella's Royal Table meal, regardless of if you're here for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, is prefixed, though you're more more than welcome to add a specialty cocktail for an additional cost. With our prefix breakfast price, we'll receive a pastry plate with assorted breakfast pastries, a royal entree. You get to choose from a variety of them, so it is prefix, but you do have some choices to make here, and a non-specialty beverage like coffee or tea or milk or orange juice or soda. I always drink soda, so anyway, even for breakfast. And believe it or not, that blueberry muffin with Mickey ears is very good. Now, along with meeting princesses during our meal, we also received a special wishing star. Throughout breakfast, you'll notice the lights will daintily flicker and an announcement will be made prompting everyone to make a wish. So just a fun extra bit of Disney theming at its finest. And here come our third and fourth princesses of the day, Princess Jasmine and Princess Ariel. Lucky us, we get to talk about human fashion with Ariel for a bit before she has to move on to the next table. Good thing she's wearing her green dress today, because flipping her fins ain't gonna get her that far. Now, despite the princess character interactions feeling a bit rushed at times here, our server does a great job making sure we meet everyone and that each of our interactions feels genuine and memorable and so welcoming. All in all, Cinderella's Royal Table is a great way to meet a lot of our favorite characters without having to wait in line to see them over at Princess Fairy Tale Hall later on. Though admittedly, Princess Fairy Tale Hall is the much cheaper option of the two. Speaking of prices, for our breakfast at Cinderella's Royal Table, we did pay $69 per person ahead of time when we made our advanced dining reservation. This is one of the few restaurants on property that charges your credit card before you secure your table, just something to keep in mind. Just so we don't have to order some caffeine later on in the day, we're going to get our fill of it right now when we've got those unlimited refills to take advantage of. And as we're sipping on our cup of joe or, my Diet Coke, we get to shoot the breeze with even more Disney characters. Every now and then, princesses might be able to swing by your table and chat with you a second time, but there's no guarantee of that happening at Cinderella's Royal Table since this restaurant has a super quick turnaround and a very high demand. Hey look, it's our fifth princess of the day, Princess Rapunzel. Character appearances switch up here regularly, so you never know who you might meet during your meal. We've also seen Snow White bop by here often too during past visits. I've seen Belle here before, but since we're still waiting on our food, now seems to be as good a time as any to go back down and meet Cinderella in her photo op spot. Fun fact, if you don't get the chance to meet and greet with Cinderella before, during, or after your meal, you can always arrange to come back later on in the day for a quick photo op and visit, just as long as you've got proof that you dined here earlier, so keep that receipt. Okay, our entrees have arrived. We chose the option that our server highly recommended, the beef tenderloin and egg, which comes with potatoes and cheese frittata, broccolini, Vorson cheese sauce, and chive oil. This is probably one of the most ordered options here at Cinderella's Royal Table. That's what I keep getting told by the servers when I'm here. The frittata is mighty tasty, and with those pieces of soft potato baked into it, it's hearty enough to balance the substantial amount of beef here. And of course, I love me a good cheese sauce, which added tons of flavor to the dish too. Our server also recommended getting the second most popular item, the caramel apple stuffed French toast. And how could we say no to that? I have had it before, but sometimes you gotta have it again. The fruit may swap out on this one. Right now it's banana, but the rest of this dish stays the same. You got sweet cream cheese in the center, caramel sauce drizzled on top, and a side of bacon to help balance out all that sweetness. The inside is dense and doughy, and while we wish there was even more caramel sauce on top to compensate for that dough, the cream cheese does help moisten things a bit. Overall, this is a solid option for us. It is very, very sweet though, just a heads up on that. Now, as far as the bacon is concerned, it's bacon. Hard to go wrong there. It's not overly crispy. It's not like what my mom likes to order, which is basically burnt bacon, but it is always a solid breakfast accompaniment in our book. Now, I know Cinderella's Royal Table gets a bad rep at times, and for good reason. It is a very expensive meal, and if you come here for lunch or dinner, it's going to be even more expensive. But the overall package of Cinderella's Royal Table, the castle decor, the window views across the park, the princess meet and greets, the wishing star ceremonies, the service, and the substantial amount of food makes the experience worthwhile, even if you only do it once in your life. Okay, the My Disney Experience app let us know that we can now book another lightning lane since it's been 2 hours since the park opened. From here on out, we can book our lightning lanes every 2 hours after our previous selections or after we've scanned into the last lightning lane we picked up. So we're going to go ahead and book our next one for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and then make our way out of the castle and go to enjoy the rest of the park. Now hold on, will you come into the Sir Mickey's gift shop with me for just a second? Because there's something I want to show you. If you track down one of the fairy godmothers in this shop, they'll give you a free pixie dusting because Cassie obviously didn't make enough wishes at Cinderella's Royal Table. She's making another one here. And with a wave of the magic wand, she's now going to officially be coated with a healthy dose of genuine pixie dust. Warning, much like a hitchhiking ghost from Haunted Mansion, this glitter will follow you home, so be prepared for all your stuff to be a little extra sparkly sparkly from here on out. This is why anytime you go into the restroom in Fantasyland, there's glitter all over the floor. Now, this is fine for Cassie. She lives for glitter and she's on cloud 9 right now. All right, we're back to it. I know I've spent a lot of time around Cinderella Castle already, but we're gonna go up to the front of the castle now to catch Mickey's Magical Friendship Fair. During this performance, Mickey and his pals unite in a tale of friendship and merriment featuring songs and characters from Disney's contemporary classics, The Princess and the Frog, Tangled, and Frozen. This timeless fairy tale of a show combines dance and stunts with lots of memorable music and special effects, including a magical fireworks finale during the day. This show is about 15 to 20 minutes long and happens at select times between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., which is why we kept an eye on the My Disney Experience app to make sure we didn't miss out. Now, guess what time it is? It is time to use our first lightning lane for Jungle Cruise. So we're gonna finally say goodbye to Cinderella Castle for now and scan into this classic Adventureland ride. We do have an hour window to use our lightning lane, so even though our Jungle Cruise lightning lane starts at 11:30 a.m., we technically can scan in any time between now and 12:30 p.m. Jungle Cruise tends to be the lightning lane we prioritize most often for our Magic Kingdom visits because this line gets pretty long by midday and the lightning lanes book up for it faster than others. Once we scan in, we wait about 10-15-ish minutes before we finally get to board a boat. Remember, other folks are using lightning lanes too, so a lightning lane doesn't automatically mean every ride you book is going to be a walk-up experience. It just means it's going to be a shorter wait than the standby queue. Look, 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 our boat is here. It's the Ukulele Lolly. Ukulele Lolly. Ukulele Lolly. Boarding is pretty quick, but the skippers are always nearby to help you out if you need an extra hand getting on or off the boat. There really isn't a bad seat on the boat since things will be happening on both sides of the river, so you don't have to worry about missing out on something or not being able to see what's happening. So it's time to wave to everybody we're leaving behind on the dock because we've got some Nile River exploring to do. Jungle Cruise is a solid option for all ages. It's got the animatronic animals, it's got the easygoing boat ride, and it's got plenty of skipper jokes that'll somehow make you groan and laugh out loud at the same time. While you're gonna get a lot of repeat jokes each time you ride this boat tour, and if you don't think you will, then you're gonna be in denial. Oh, I'm not good at this. It's fun to listen to how each skipper adds their own spin to the tour guide to be able to add a little variety to things.
Here's an African bull elephant. Now these guys are really smart creatures. Just watch.
Now here's an interesting fact for you. The first version of the Jungle Cruise was very serious and based on Walt Disney's True Life Adventure series. It wasn't until a few years later that the Jungle Cruise skippers began adding jokes and funny stories. By the way, kiddos, every now and then your skipper will choose a lucky guest skipper to give a Jungle Cruise license to. This doesn't happen all the time, so if it happens to you, consider yourself to be one of the lucky few with such an honorary title. But don't be stealing the steering wheel or anything, it's all for show. However, the little honorary Jungle Cruise skipper card that you'll receive does make for a nice free keepsake. While I will say I'm glad we had a lightning lane for this one, since the regular line can get to be about 45 to 70 minutes plus on an average day, if we didn't have lightning lanes at our disposal, I probably would have waited to ride this one at night. Not only does this make the ride cooler temperature-wise and a little bit eerier, but it also tends to be less crowded around that time too. And now for the eighth wonder of the world, the backside of water! Now, Jungle Cruise really isn't a scary ride by any means, but there is a little dark patch, which we're going through right now, that may make kiddos a little apprehensive, but don't stress, nothing's gonna jump out at you, and you'll be out of the dark section and laughing at the water spraying elephants before you know it. Duck, they're gonna get you! Just kidding. Did you fall for it? Because Millie did. A couple of years back, this ride was actually freshened up with some updated scenes and animatronics, so these mischievous monkeys that you see toward the end are actually fairly new to the ride. And just like that, our puntastic cruise is over, and it's time to move on to our next attraction. Again, the skippers will help us out of the boat if we're still dealing with our sea legs after standing up. After we take a quick potty break, because when you gotta go, and the closest restrooms to us will be the ones inside the Tortuga Tavern quick service or near the Pirates of the Caribbean gift shop, both good restrooms, let's go ahead and kill some time by catching a show at Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. Before we get to enter the Tiki Room, we'll watch a fun 4-minute pre-show giving us some insight into what we're about to see. While we will have to stand during the intro, once the theater doors open, we'll be able to choose our seat of preference on one of the several long benches surrounding surrounding the theater. There's lots to love about this Adventureland show. Not only is it a classic attraction as well as the first ever Disney attraction to feature audio animatronic figures, but it rarely ever has a long line that you gotta worry about, and you get to sit inside in the AC for a solid 15 minutes. The show features a cast of more than 300 talking, singing, and dancing animatronic birds and flowers and tiki drummers and totem poles that perform the attraction's signature tunes. But be careful, because that Tiki 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 Room song is gonna be stuck in your head for a long time. While normally we would try to squeeze in a ride on Magic Carpets of Aladdin after the Tiki Room wraps up its performance, our My Disney Experience app did let us know that the wait time for that ride was pushing 20 minutes, and it's really not worth that in my opinion. So we'll just keep an eye on the wait times for it and maybe come back around later on if the line gets shorter. Maybe. I don't know. It's definitely not a priority for me. Maybe it is for you. I'm not here to cramp your style, so just let me know if we need to swing back by later, okay? Okay, and just like that, the show's over and we're back out in the Orlando heat again. Now that it's 1 p.m., we can make another lightning lane, so let's go ahead and snag one for Peter Pan's flight this time. Looks like the return time for Peter isn't until 5:45 p.m., so we definitely don't have to rush that direction anytime soon. Oop, try to ignore that dinner reservation because that's not until way later on this evening. To tide us over right now, let's grab a snack from Aloha Isle Refreshments. I know, breakfast was only a few hours ago, but come on. You gotta have a Dole Whip or a pineapple upside down cake while you're in Adventureland because it's the law. The pineapple upside down cake comes with your choice of pineapple Dole Whip, vanilla Dole Whip, or a swirl of both, and I guess you could get coconut on it because they do have coconut here. Anyway, Aloha Isle knocks it out of the ballpark again with this one. This cake is moist and flavorful without tasting artificial. It's actually one of my very favorite things to get in the Magic Kingdom, and it broke my heart when it didn't come back after the pandemic for such a long time, but we finally got it back and it is incredible. And while I'd be in heaven if this cake was served warm, I understand why it's not. The Dole Whip on top already melts pretty quickly once you're walking around with it during the heat of the day, which is why we're gonna split this one with Cassie and Millie so we can finish it before it turns into pineapple soup. Now across the way from Magic Carpets of Aladdin, there's a little standing table area where we can go to enjoy our treats out of the sun and away from the crowds. Looks like they're already getting pretty melty. And while we didn't get it this time, Aloha Isle is also the home of another popular Magic Kingdom treat, the Tropical Serenade, which is made with pog juice, which is passion fruit orange guava juice, coconut soft serve, and an upside down pineapple cake pop. All that sugar's making me crave something salty now, so you know what that means. That means it's time for us to head over to the one, the only Adventureland Spring Roll Cart. This Spring Roll Cart serves 2 types of spring rolls all season long, with flavors rotating out pretty regularly. This time it looks like we got our choice between cheeseburger spring rolls and pepperoni pizza spring rolls. You can find the Spring Roll Cart right outside the Adventureland entrance that's closest to Cinderella Castle. Now it's Frontierland time. We love and miss you, Big Al. We'll see you soon. During the time of our Magic Kingdom visit, a lot of Frontierland is currently under construction as the park gets ready to open Tiana's Bayou Adventure and the reimagined Country Bears musical Jamboree this summer. But that doesn't mean there's nothing to do right now, because we've got a big Thunder Mountain Railroad lightning lane to scan into. Psst, Cassie, did you hear that? We have to get going. Please tell Big Al goodbye. You're gonna get glitter all over him. Big Thunder Mountain is a runaway mine train coaster, deemed as, and I quote, the wildest ride in the wilderness. While we're not going to be able to experience too much of the queue, since we've got our handy dandy lightning lanes helping us move right along, the queue area will take us into the headquarters of the Big Thunder Mining Company. When you board the ride, make sure to remove your hats and glasses and put them in the pouch in front of you, but don't worry, the ominous country folk voice from up above will remind us to do that before we take off. Now, despite this ride being called the wildest, it's actually a good family coaster that provides a decent amount of thrills without major upside down loops or sharp drops or 0 to 60 launches. So even riders who get a little apprehensive when it comes to thrill rides may still wind up enjoying this one more than they think they will. For a smoother experience on Big Thunder, you may in the future want to ask a cast member if you can wait to sit toward the front of the ride. And if you want a coaster experience that's a little more thrilling, request a seat towards the back. Cast members won't always be able to make those requests happen for you, but sometimes they can, so it never hurts to ask and check. From start to finish, Big Thunder is about a 3.5-minute ride, and without a lightning lane to help you bypass the main queue, the wait time for it by the afternoon ranges around 40 to 90 plus minutes. Again, this is another good ride to hit up at night if you're not going to be using lightning lanes, because the line tends to be shorter and the coaster feels faster since you'll be riding in the dark. Plus, since a lot of this line is outside and in the sun, it's nice to go at night when it's a little bit cooler. Typically, 2 guests can fit in each row, though in some situations you can fit 2 adults and a child if your whole family wants to ride on the same row together. If your kid's not tall enough to ride this one yet, there is a child swap option for Big Thunder Mountain. We call it Rider Swap, which a cast member can help you get all set up at the front of the attraction, just to make sure everyone who wants to ride has the chance to ride. Now, some fun little trivia about Big Thunder Mountain Railroad: it has been proven to dislodge kidney stones, so just a heads up on that if this is a problem that you're facing. Big Thunder Mountain, scientifically proven. Okay, our boarding group number for Tron Light Cycle Run is getting really close to being called, but I think we've got just enough time to watch the 3 p.m. Festival of Fantasy Parade before it's our turn to ride. Now, before we find our spot for this show, let's place a mobile order for a trio platter from Columbia Harbor House in Liberty Square. That way we can all munch on it while we're waiting for the show to start. Columbia Harbor House is one of my all-time favorite quick service spots in Magic Kingdom because it serves hearty surf and turf entrees at a reasonable price point. Plus, there's lots of places to sit upstairs, and I love that because I hate searching for tables. Now, the trio platter we ordered gives us a combo of fried shrimp, chicken strips, and battered fish served with hush puppies and our choice of side. We chose French fries because French fries, and we got all of that for just over $14. Yep, the beauty of eating Disney food next to a trash can. Gotta love it. At least it makes disposal easy. Okay, aside from the price, does the trio platter actually taste good? Well, absolutely. I wouldn't be eating it if it didn't. All the batter around the shrimp and fish and chicken and those incredible hush puppies and fries is nice and fresh and crisp. But honestly, the best item on the basket is probably the hush puppies. So if you ever just want an order of these, you can get them as an a la carte side option for $5. And here we go. It's the start of the parade. Oh, hold on. One last look at this tasty chicken strip just for memory's sake. And the hush puppy. Look how nice and fluffy it is on the inside. I love these things. And back to the parade. We're like an Old Spice commercial, aren't we? Right now, we're sitting just outside the Hall of Presidents, which isn't too shabby of a view. And because 2 hours have passed since the last lightning lane that we made, which was for Peter Pan's flight, we can go ahead and choose another one real quick for Haunted Mansion. Festival of Fantasy is a beautiful parade. It showcases a lot of fan favorite Disney characters and their stories. First, we start off with a pageantry of princesses that celebrate Disney royalty with a garden of topiaries and woodland creatures, of course, because you can't have a Disney princess without some sort of a woodland creature. Then we get a special appearance by sisters Anna and Elsa, followed by Bria's personal favorite float, the Tangled Longship. Now, this boat comes sailing by with swaying pendulums carrying dastardly thugs, including the smoldering Flynn Rider himself. Maybe he will look at you and wink if you're lucky. Meanwhile, Ariel and her friends sit on a colorful seashell with Ariel back in mermaid form this time. I guess she got tired of wearing her green dress after hanging out at Cinderella's royal table with us this morning. After Ariel, Peter Pan flies straight in from Neverland, getting us all excited to ride Peter Pan's flight later on. And don't forget about our lightning lane for that one. All the while, Tink follows Peter on her float of giant flowers. Y'all, I hate to be the one to do this, but now that we've seen the epic Maleficent steampunk dragon, we gotta go. Our Tron group was actually called a little while ago, and while we do have an hour window to return to the ride, just like you can with those lightning lanes, we're really starting to push it, so we're gonna have to make the sacrifice and miss the final parade float with Mickey and Minnie. I'm sorry. Thank you for being flexible. But hey, we get to go ride Tron now. We made it just in the nick of time. For the record, if you don't buy an individual lightning lane for Tron, which we didn't do, then your wait time for this ride might still be long. We're scanning in right at 3:30 p.m. to get in line, but spoiler alert, we're not gonna board this ride for another 50 minutes. That's how long this line can be, regardless of the virtual queue. So keep that in mind, that a virtual queue doesn't necessarily mean a shortened queue. It's gonna be shorter than it was if it was a standby queue, but it can still be a while. You're not gonna just like walk on the ride. Aw, look at all the Tomorrowland Speedway drivers. Put your pedal to the metal, guys. Now, since Tron kind of took it out of us with a long wait and high-speed thrills, we're gonna go ahead and wind down by going on my all-time favorite Magic Kingdom ride ever, the People Mover. Literally, I probably could have just reridden this ride all day long and deemed that as my perfect Magic Kingdom day. I actually went to an after hours once and just rode the People Mover over and over and over again, and that was well worth the money. Now, People Mover is a slow-moving 10-minute ride that loops you around Tomorrowland, including aerial views above Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin and Space Mountain. Now, because this ride doesn't have lightning lanes available whatsoever, nor does it usually need them since the line for it doesn't get wildly busy on average crowd level days, it's a great option option for us to hit up between our Lightning Lane return times. While we ride and just chill for a second, be on the lookout for the Model City, which we'll cruise on past when we enter the first tunnel area. Hold on, first we gotta pass by Astro Orbiter and Space Mountain and Cinderella Castle. Hello again, beautiful. There it is. This is actually Walt Disney's 20th century vision for the future, which many believe is tied closely to Walt's own vision for Epcot Center. Kind of cool, right? I know, the People Mover is a super simple concept, but I can't help but love it. It doesn't give you motion sickness, all ages can ride, it's just a classic of the park that I hope and pray never changes even as things start to update around the Tomorrowland area. Disneyland already lost theirs, I hope Disney World never loses theirs. So I'd love to know your thoughts about the People Mover. Let me know if you're for it or against it, and I promise to respect your decision regardless, even though only one answer is clearly the right choice here. Now, Tomorrowland's a good place for a pit stop, so we're gonna go ahead and take a bathroom break and grab some Joffreys while we're at it. The coffee from Cinderella's Royal Table has probably run its course by now. While we're waiting for our vanilla latte, let's make another Lightning Lane for It's a Small World. The wait times for this ride usually aren't terrible, but because the Lightning Lane return time for Small World is immediately after the one we already have for Peter Pan, we can hit up both of those neighboring rides back to back when the time comes. All right, coffee in hand. It was a little bit longer of a wait than we anticipated, but the coffee line would have been even longer at a place like Main Street Bakery, so we're just happy to have some sort of Java to keep us going. Now, because our feet are absolutely killing us right now, we're going to sit down inside the Carousel of Progress and enjoy a nice 20-minute nostalgic show. Carousel of Progress takes place in a rotating carousel theater that has lots of air conditioning, thank goodness, and follows an audio animatronic family throughout the last century, showing how times have changed due to the world's many modern inventions. Another AJ fun fact, Walt himself originally debuted Carousel of Progress at the 1964-65 New York World's Fair. So yep, this is absolutely an iconic piece of Disney history right here. This is also where you'll get to learn the song It's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow really fast, since it plays between each scene transition. The nice thing about Carousel of Progress, besides just how cozy the show is that there's rarely ever a long line for it, making it a good place to take a break and relax in that comfy, dark, air-conditioned building while still being thoroughly entertained. Or sleeping. That's on you, whatever. If we had more time, we could hit up some other nearby Tomorrowland attractions like Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor or Astro Orbiter or Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. Not Space Mountain though, since it seems to be down for technical difficulties at the moment as usual. But once we get out of this show, our Lightning Lane for Peter Pan's flight is ready to go, so we'll probably skip the rest of the Tomorrowland attractions for now. And look at that, John left that turkey in the oven and the temperature's a little bit too high again. Now, as Peter Pan would say, off we go to Neverland. There are a couple of different paths you can take to cross into Fantasyland and get over to Peter Pan's flight, but it's been forever long ago since our breakfast at Cinderella's Royal Table, and we are starting to miss the castle real bad. So let's walk through it once more and check out those beautiful hand-sculpted mosaics lining the inside, which actually tell the story of Cinderella. Because this is the only way you can check out even a sliver of the castle interior free of charge, this pathway gets a little bottlenecked. So if you have an issue with crowds, you may for future trips want to take that left-hand path we used earlier on in the day and go around the castle instead of through it. Okay, I love this ride, but Peter Pan's flight can get to be a really long wait if you don't have a Lightning Lane for it. So if we didn't have a Lightning Lane, this might have been a good one to rope drop to get ahead of the crowds before they all shuffle into the park by the afternoon. And of course, that standby queue line is pretty great. So if you do rope drop this one, you're going to get to go through that very cool queue. Now, there are actually 2 Lightning Lane scan points in Peter Pan's flight, which can be the case with quite a few rides across Disney World. So if you don't have a Magic Band, make sure you keep your physical park ticket or your Magic Mobile ticket out and ready to scan a second time. Peter Pan's flight is about 3-minute ride, though it tends to feel much shorter than that, especially if you had to wait a long time for it in a standby queue. But during the ride, you'll soar high above London, explore the fantasy realm of Neverland from a bird's eye view, and come face to face with Captain Hook, Mr. Smee, and the dastardly pirate crew. This is a good ride that's good for all ages, even the adults, though Peter Pan might be mad that you had to go ahead and grow up like that. From one Lightning Lane to another, it's time for It's a Small World next. We actually have a little more of a queue to wait in than I thought we would, but at least that gives us just enough time to book our next Lightning Lane for Pirates of the Caribbean. Unfortunately, Pirates currently has the exact same Lightning Lane return window that our Haunted Mansion Lightning Lane has. And while you totally can book both Lightning Lanes, since again, you have an hour-long window to return to either, that's still kind of pushing it, especially since It's a Small World is a kind of lengthy ride at 14 minutes, and so is Haunted Mansion at 10 minutes, not counting the pre-show. So we'll grab the Lightning Lane for Pirates for now, and we'll see how we're feeling about it later. But at the moment, let's just sit back and enjoy the happiest little cruise that ever sailed. Much like Carousel of Progress, It's a Small World also made its grand debut during the 1964-65 New York World's Fair. So naturally, it not only became a staple of the Disneyland park, but it also became an opening day attraction for Magic Kingdom too. During this slow-going boat ride, you'll glide across international waters and be surrounded by dancing dolls and animals and flowers who all sing that now almost infamous song, It's a Small World. Listen, don't be hating. I know this ride ain't everyone's cup of tea, but it's a cute classic that you gotta experience at least once. When we get off It's a Small World, we go check on the wait times via the My Disney Experience app and notice that the regular standby for Pirates of the Caribbean is only 35 minutes long. That's not bad for Pirates. So we're gonna go ahead and ditch the lightning lane we grabbed for it earlier, which was clashing with our Haunted Mansion one, so we can just wait in the normal queue for it instead. We also checked to see if Space Mountain was back online yet, but it's not. We're keeping our fingers crossed, but we can't let that closure set us back. After all, there's still so much to do before the end of the night, and I'm just glad we were able to make it on to Pirates. Pirates of the Caribbean is another classic Disney dark boat ride with one medium to smallish drop that features Captain Jack Sparrow and his nemesis Barbossa from the Pirates of the Caribbean series of films. A must-do for sure. After Pirates, we tried to scan in for our Haunted Mansion lightning lane, but guess what? That ride is down now too. Fortunately, Disney gave us a multi-experience pass on our My Disney Experience app to apologize for the inconvenience, which we can now use on any ride except for Tron and Seven Dwarfs, whenever we want to, but we're still gonna try holding out for Haunted Mansion. In the meantime, we're gonna grab a spot for the Happily Ever After fireworks show and sob all over the music and castle projections and pyrotechnics and Tinkerbell flying down from the castle before the grand finale. Happily Ever After is an 18-minute spectacle that originally debuted back in 2017, featuring scenes from classic and modern Disney films like The Little Mermaid and Aladdin and Tangled and Moana and Zootopia and more. The story begins with scenes filled with all the Disney buzzwords, dreams and hopes and wonders and magic and light. But the Disney villains soon become part of the story, attempting to squash those happy thoughts and force the heroes to fight for what they believe in. By the way, if you're using a Magic Band Plus, not a regular Magic Band, but the newer model, then your little Disney accessory will light up in sync with Happily Ever After and some of the rides you're riding too. This is the case for all the fireworks spectaculars in the park, so you can see it light up for Fantasmic and Hollywood Studios and Luminous and Epcot too. Now hold on everyone, even though the fireworks have wrapped up and we're all cried out, that doesn't mean we're finished with our park day yet. Depending on when you visit, you may still have a couple extra hours to enjoy the park, which is why it's important to keep track of those park hours before your vacation. So we're heading back into Adventureland because we have late night reservations at our favorite sit-down restaurant inside Magic Kingdom, Skipper Canteen. Skipper Canteen is based on the Jungle Cruise attraction, so this is pretty poetic in a way. We started our day with Jungle Cruise and now we're wrapping up our day with it as well. Skipper Canteen features 3 dining rooms, including the Falls Family Parlor, the Crew Mess Hall, and a once secret meeting room of the Society of Adventurers and Explorers. In these rooms, guests dine on world-famous jungle cuisine with Asian, South American, and African-influenced dishes. Best of all, though, are those famous wacky Jungle Cruise skippers who serve up some fun and, of course, plenty of puns, along with all that globally inspired cuisine. Funny enough, what we're craving the most from Skipper Canteen right now isn't actually on the menu. Skipper Canteen also has a secret menu that you can typically order from, which features a unique, ever-rotating list of off-menu drinks and eats. So we asked our Skipper server what's on the secret menu this time around, and what he tells us is music to our ears. As it turns out, the pão de queijo, aka Brazilian cheese bread, is still available, so we order that as an app for the table right away. On its own, this bread is divine, but when you mix it with that green chimichurri on the side, the flavor gets even better. A bit of warning before you take a bite though, the sauce does have a little kick to it. Not a lot, but enough that it might, catch you off guard if you weren't expecting it. Since the pão de queijo is on the secret Skipper menu, it's not always a guarantee here, but it has been available during our past couple of visits, so it's always worth asking about, especially if you love soft, cheesy bread bites. And since you're here at DFB, you probably do. For our entrees, we got the Hearty Har Char Siu pork, I love saying that, and the Nile Nelly's noodle bowl. What did I tell you? Very adventurous plates, right? Thankfully, we're pretty adventurous eaters within reason, but if we had any pickier eaters in our group, we probably would have made a reservation for someplace else, like the Plaza Restaurant at Main Street USA or Liberty Tree Tavern in Liberty Square. Interestingly, I am a pretty picky eater, but doing Disney Food Blog has kind of changed my life in so many ways, but especially with my palate. I like so many more things now than I did before, just because I kind of had to eat them for work. Now, the Nile bowl comes with rice noodles and sauteed shrimp. Then they're tossed with a spicy tamarind sauce, pickled radish, eggs, toasted peanuts, and fresh cut herbs. And the Siu pork comes with char siu marinated pork tenderloin served with house pickled vegetables and jasmine rice. This is definitely a good option for those that like that salty soy sauce flavor. The pork itself is really juicy. They do not overcook this. And the rice is pretty on par with basic jasmine rice. Nothing truly separates itself, but that's not a bad thing. The veggies, on the other hand, are still kind of crispy and crunchy and are very well seasoned. seasoned. While we did mull over whether we wanted to grab some dessert here or not, the My Disney Experience app says that Haunted Mansion is back online. So we wrap up our meal and make our way over to Liberty Square so we don't miss out on this ghoulish attraction before the end of the night. So this is going to be our last ride of the day, which is very sad because Space Mountain never went back online for us. But there are 2 lessons we can take away from this. 1, it's important to be flexible with your park day because plans can and will change on a whim. And 2, even perfect Magic Kingdom days where you manage to accomplish a lot still won't cover everything that this park has to offer. So make sure to hit up your priority experiences and leave the rest of those here as the icing on top of your already super sweet cake. If you get around to them, great, but if not, you still manage to have a full Magic Kingdom day for the books. And also, let's make sure that you remind your family that you're probably not going to be able to ride everything because, you know, when you have a 6-year-old who's been dying to ride a certain ride and it doesn't happen, you want to make sure expectations are set there. During the pre-show, your invisible host greets you, your ghost host, Mr. Gracie, and then you'll be led into an octagonal room known as the stretching room, or is it your imagination? After this mesmerizing and slightly traumatizing introduction to the ride, you'll be shuffled into one of your very own Doom buggies so you can take a tour throughout the mansion and meet its 999 happy haunt residents. Now, something I want to warn you about, sometimes, especially here at the end of the night, those Haunted Mansion cast members can get a little extra spooky and potentially stand behind you in the stretching room and then like scare you when you turn around. So I don't know if you like jump scares. I do not. So I tend to kind of keep my wits about me when I'm there in the stretching room. Just a heads up. Oh, another quick word of warning. While this ride isn't designed to be like a full-blown haunted house where you're going to run into all those jump scare actors, it can still be pretty spooky for kids. So if your kid is kind of hesitant when it comes to goblins and ghouls and bumps in the night, even the silly, not so serious ones, then you may want to have them wait to ride this attraction for when they're a little bit older and can appreciate the humor of it more. I personally didn't ride this ride till I was much older than most kids. I'm like super anxious and have always been a super anxious kid. So it's not a bad thing. They'll probably love it eventually, but know your kid. So synchronized speakers inside each Doom buggy allow your ghost host to explain the supernatural events unfolding around you as you glide silently through the library, the conservatory, hallways, ballroom, attic, even the graveyards. And make sure to give a warm welcome to the Hatbox Ghost who just recently materialized in the Magic Kingdom's Haunted Mansion at the end of last year. You'll also ride by a seance being held by Madame Leota, a disembodied head projected from a crystal ball. She's the one calling the spirits to materialize before you. The holographic images that dance and cavort around the ballroom are caused by an illusion referred to as Pepper's Ghost, which uses the help of mirrors to make these specters all the more realistic looking. They've been using this for a bajillion years, and it still gets us every single time. Although this is a slow-moving and fairly smooth ride, each Doom buggy vehicle inside the Haunted Mansion is programmed to dip and turn at specific moments, thus directing your attention to important show elements. So be aware that at some points your Doom buggy is going to travel backward as it goes downhill. Nothing jarring other than ghosts and ghoulies is going to happen during that time, I promise. But you will be kind of, twisted around and shown different parts of what's going on in the mansion around you. Okay, guess what? I lied to you. Haunted Mansion wrapped up sooner than I thought it would, so we're still going to have time to squeeze in a couple more short Fantasyland rides before the end of the night. Like I said early, icing, meat cake. First, let's knock out Prince Charming Regal Carousel since it's practically a walk-on and it has gorgeous nighttime views of Fantasyland and our glowing beauty herself, Cinderella Castle. And then our actual final ride of the night is going to be Dumbo the Flying Elephant and, of course, the Barnstormer. So 2 rides over at Storybook Circus because why not? You can get in line for the rides, any of the rides, right up until the park closes. Just as long as you're in a rides queue before cast members close it off, you're going to be able to ride that attraction. Dumbo's one of those Disney rites of passage. Sure, you just go round and round in a circle on the back of your own flying elephant, but it would have felt wrong not to have gone on this at least once during our perfect Magic Kingdom day. And while Barnstormer is like the shortest coaster ride ever, it's still a great junior coaster to help test the waters for kids who've never been on a roller coaster like ride before. By the way, did you know that Barnstormer and Space Mountain go about the same speed? No, really, there's only about a 2 mile per hour difference between the two, which my mind refuses to process. Plus, it features the great Goofini and his staggering series of stupendous stunts. So how can you not support Goofy's stunt career with a tagline like that? Since the park is getting ready to close, we're literally going to be one of the only few people on this ride at the moment, which is actually a pretty rare occurrence in the Disney parks. And it's also why we love hanging out here right up until the park closes. Makes us feel kind of super exclusive and special. Take a moment to appreciate the view of Fantasyland from this vantage point though, because she is beautiful all lit up like that. And off we go! Last ride, last ride! Put your hands up in the air like you just don't care. I do care. I wish we could ride a million more rides together. But that's it. That's a wrap, folks. Now it's time for us to start heading toward the front of the park and call it a day. We're not necessarily going to drag our feet to the park exit or anything because we want to make sure we still get out at a decent time so cast members can wrap up their end of day duties and get home too. But this end of day walk is the perfect time to get those last minute views and pictures of a semi-empty Magic Kingdom park. As exhausting as it is to be in Magic Kingdom from the start of the day to the end of the day, I always find myself getting one last hit of energy in this very moment when everything suddenly gets still and I'm actually able to appreciate the ambiance and imagineering of this area. There's a reason why Disney people are Disney people, and I feel like it's because of these moments specifically. When you can think back on your full day with your family or friends or even your solo trip and remember how epic it was to do something like this. You got to sail with pirates and dine with royalty and become a happy haunt and watch a fireworks spectacular and make memories that'll stick with you forever. Hot tip, while Magic Kingdom might be closing at 11 p.m. on the day of our visit, the shops down Main Street USA are going to stay open for just a bit longer, like 30 to 60 minutes longer depending on the night. So if you wanted to soak up the vibes just a little bit more, you could always shop at the Emporium, grab some Main Street confectionery snacks for the road, or order a sundae from the Plaza Ice Cream Parlor. Too bad we're still full from dinner, otherwise an all-American sundae would really hit the spot right now. Oh, and don't forget to take any last-minute photo pass pictures with the castle too. While we may be all hot and sweaty and tired looking by now, at least we won't have all the extra people in the background of our shot anymore. When it's time to leave, we're going to get back to our car over at the Transportation and Ticket Center, which we can do by taking the monorail or the ferry. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ and Priya and Cassie and Millie for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.